Garfield's usually a major laugh riot. A real knee slapper, if you know what I mean. But Garfield's early specials were pretty loaded with a mondo dose of drama. How could these get everyone on the bodacious Garfield bandwagon in the 1980s? Let's rewind, relive, and reflect with Garfield right after this killer track.
Let's go back in time, we can just hit rewind. What a terrific notion, it's cartoon commotion.
Homie, we're back with more radical cartoon insights. My name's Cade, your favorite cartoon weirdo, and of course you know my co-host and banjo-playing pet pig, Jiggy. Would you believe that there was a time when Garfield was all about the drama? Well, if you were around in 1982, you might have been hyped to check out Garfield's first ever TV special. Before the cartoon had a series, before the cat ever reached his first seasons, this cat had to make a major debut on the tube. Premiering on October 25th of 1982, Here Comes Garfield was a made-for-TV special produced by the same people who made those wonderful Peanuts specials, Mendelsohn and Melendez. Directed by Phil Roman and written by Jim Davis. From here on, Garfield had like 12 total specials, with only a handful of those being focused on holidays. What Jiggy and I found most radically fascinating about these early specials were the major levels of drama that they tossed our way. It was a mix most unexpected in retrospect. The tone, the vibe, it was all pretty dramatic. It's 1982, October 25th on CBS. Ironically, it's a Monday. Everybody already knows straight up that Garfield hates Mondays cause, well, Mondays. And it's not really a very good day for Garfield and Odie in general, but we don't know that just yet. It's 8:30 p.m. and America's tuning in to see their favorite comic strip cat animated in his very own cartoon special. This could potentially cement our love for the selfish and lazy cat, but how? Exactamundo, Jiggy Bud. It broke our scope with the cat's personality. It played our hearts like a little violin. Its funky, fresh soul soundtrack had a beat that could make you fall in love with the worst of characters. And on the very top of all of that, it made us see that under that flabby fur, there beats a heart of gold. Hey Jig, remember how we spoke about redemption arcs in our Skeleton Warriors episode? Right, Rooney. This is totally another redemption arc, but instead of someone that did something majorly bogus, and then, much later being forgiven, it's all about showing a side of Garfield's character that wouldn't naturally be what people see up front. A redemption arc for us to care about Garfield beyond his sarcastic personality. It's very easy to view this cat as a lazy jerk that gets whatever he wants handed to him, but that's a sad stereotype that doesn't lean into his lovable side. In this first story, Garfield and Odie are made to play outside together by John, and they seriously do actually play together. Garfield isn't tormenting Odie all that much in this, he's sort of just being a troublemaker in the hood, and Odie's playing right along with him. This is very interesting to me because the trope Garfield tunes usually come back to, way too often even, is just Garfield messing around and hurting Odie somehow, which is a staple for Garfield's comedy, but it's not the root of the comedy. I think that in this first special, it was important for them to be seen as a family. The ending totally sells that vibe, it lands, and it's dope. This relationship he has with Odie reminds me of something Garfield tells us, the viewers, in the Halloween special. He turns to us to break that good old ever-questionable fourth wall, and he says,
just between you and me, there are times when I love that dog.
So I believe this was our emotional connection to Garfield early on, because otherwise he had a pile of negative attributes, and we could have clung to those. Nah, for sure, Jiggy. If anyone says they dislike Garfield for any of those reasons, it's just because they haven't gotten to know him very well. Something interesting is that the early specials hardly led with comedy at all. It's just my personal take, but I laughed way more at the 1988 cartoon than I did watching these. And that's not such a bad thing. This was very intentional. This wasn't supposed to be a hilarious production. It was supposed to connect with us emotionally first. I mean, this first story didn't wrap up all rainbows and unicorns in Garfield's hood, The plot was all about Odie getting nabbed up by the pound, and then Garfield having a major change of heart in an effort to go and get him back. Does that sound familiar, homie? Yeah, Jiggy, you are so right. That's exactly what I was hinting at. It's almost the very same word-for-word plot of the first live-action Garfield movie. Oh, there are so many reasons that I dislike those live-action films today, but we're not gonna go into that. 'Cause we'd be here for a while and we've got more specific points to get to. Okay, so at first Garfield had zero plans of rescuing Odie from the pound. After a Mondo Ultra Lazy Gorge Fest, Garfield becomes bored and actually decides to go and break Odie out of the city pound. Probably should have came to that conclusion sooner there, Garf. But you know, he's Garfield and it took him a while to have a conscience. Unfortunately, he too got tossed in that icebox, without any clue as to how they were gonna get out. That's when he heard from another cat in the joint. Odie was gonna get on the chopping block come dawn. This was so totally unexpected how heartwarming and sad this became. This is when he thinks nostalgically back to his childhood days as a kitten and when Odie was a puppy. And they were actually pretty close friends back then too. Jiggy, that is so on point! Garfield totally stepped up to rescue his adopted brother from a possible demise. This was a nerve-shocking way to bring us into Garfield's world. And that's why it works so radically well. At this point of the story, we're not to think of Garfield as a truly selfish cat anymore. See, it's been revealed to us that underneath all of that flabby fur, he loves his family, and he would chance his own well-being for them. Garfield actually does play a huge part in rescuing Odie from the pound, too. There's a whole prison break scene where G-Cat bites the arm of a guard and the crew goes free like a stampede of wild cattle. It was fantastic. That's the main thing here. We probably never would have given a care to Garfield in his world if Garfield hadn't started out as an unlikely hero. This sucked us into the lovable and relatable world of Garfield from the 80s onward.
If you enjoyed the show, the only way it grows is if you share it with a homie, so they can know. Come join the commotion, cartoon commotion. Come join the commotion, yeah, cartoon commotion.
Cookie shoutouts! Eric Grant, Carrie Cube, Legion of Comics, Marcia Sullivan, Sherry Edgin, Kate Utterback, and of course ToySoccer.com. And just so you know, we are brought to you by the fine folks of the Cereal Box Network. CerealBoxNetwork.com. Lay us out, Jiggy.